the situation is similar, and as John F. Kennedy showed up in West Berlin then and stated that today, as it was an honor to be a Roman citizen 2,000 years ago, today being in Berlin is the important place to be in, and the famous words of Ich bin ein Berliner, which later created some urban tales. There was never any doubt that he wasn't this jelly-filled donut, which in Germany are called Berliners, or here in Poland, Pączki, maybe not exactly the same, but very similar, at least visually. So that was probably the first speech of that caliber by a US president in Europe during one of these crises. Another one that is probably quite famous is when Ronald Reagan came in 1987, and again in Berlin stood there and sent a message to Gorbachev saying,
"Tear down this wall."
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And it did happen 2 years later.
Amazing, 2 years later, yes.
So definitely historical moments, historical speeches, and we noticed that they don't take place in Lisbon. They don't take place in Oslo. As Berlin was, you could say, on the absolute front line of the ideological and military fault lines and battlefront of that era, so is Warsaw today. There has been a slew of articles that have recently been published talking about how the center of gravity, this was also the word used by the Polish commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Mr. Raymond Andrzejczak, when he went on MSNBC just a few days ago and spoke with Majka Brzeziński, one of the foremost famous Polish-American journalists, and also the daughter, naturally, of Zbigniew Brzeziński, the famous Polish national security advisor of Jimmy Carter, and who previously had also served in the Nixon administration. These are historical moments, and it is clear that as Germany was this front line, whether with the conflicts over West Berlin, or whether the general military buildup in the area, with everybody thinking that if there would be some form of conflict, it would be some massive attack by the Soviet Union and its Warsaw Pact allies coming through the so-called Fulda Gap, where all that Warsaw Pact armor was supposed to come through. Today, instead, people are talking about places on the map such as the Suwałki Gap between Poland and Lithuania, this little sliver of land between Kaliningrad and Belarus, in which we have Russian troops stationed. But these couple of dozen kilometers is enough for NATO equipment to go through between Poland and the 3 Baltic states. So today, instead of the Fulda Gap, people are talking about the Suwałki Gap. And Warsaw is becoming this new Berlin when it comes to diplomatic activity, to all types of aid being sent to the region. And now the question is, this is at least what the Poles are saying, that they want a Ramstein base in Poland to really drive home the similarities in the situation. And this is what Prime Minister Morawiecki also stated before this visit, that we are counting on permanent US bases, and we are counting on an expansion of American troop presence in Poland. Before the war, that figure was climbing up to 5,000. In the first weeks after the war, it was more than doubled to more than 10,000. Then we have some British, Croatian, and Romanian troops in Poland as well. So if we take all NATO troops together, we're now over 15,000 men, and there is another American military base being built in Redzikowo, and which is an anti-air defense base. So it's not the same type of Ramstein permanent military base that the Poles want, but they're also working on getting some other types of bases, maybe not permanent, maybe not for US personnel, but rather storage sites in which hundreds and hundreds of vehicles can be kept on site to make sure that if there would be some case of aggression from Russia, then instead of having to ship these things either from through Rotterdam or even further away, they wanted to have it all here. So it will be very interesting to see what the Polish president will say, what Joe Biden will say during his speech. Since we already had this one surprise with Joe Biden traveling to Kiev, it's not impossible that maybe Volodymyr Zelensky would be willing to make that same train trip to Poland and also speak in front of the crowds in Warsaw next to the US president and giving his message out to the world.
Adam, as ever, the clock in the corner of the room is ticking away furiously, and so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there, but we'll pick it up next time. There we are. As usual, the clock is telling me that we have to bring this particular programme to an end, but fear not, we'll pick it up next time on Poland Daily History, and we hope you'll join us. In the meantime, thank you for watching.